Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Well. I wake up, I read the boxing pages like I normally do, and what do I find? Instantly springing out and hitting me in the face. Ryan Garcia has failed a drugs test, a PED test, no less. Osterine is the drug in question. I did what we all do when we don't really know much about something but want to know. I went over to Google, read a few little definitions on medical sites. It's some sort of muscle. It increases muscle mass. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm no expert. I'm not an amateur chemist or anything like that, or a pharmacist. But I'm only going by what I've just read. But it is a PED, and yeah, it's essentially, I think, testosterone. It affects the testosterone anyway. Okay. Well, I have to say, I did have my suspicions about Garcia. And if I'm being honest, Haney a little bit as well. Because, not so much Haney, but definitely Garcia. Look, you're talking about a guy who not a long time ago was a lightweight. And now he's saying he can't make 140. Well, I thought, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, because perhaps he's saying he can't. Perhaps he can make 140, but he's saying he can't. But if you're putting on something that increases your muscle mass and your weight simply becomes more difficult to take off, at least if you're going to cheat, then yeah, it's suspicious. But I mean, I didn't say anything, probably because I didn't want to believe it. I think, the story of Garcia being written off as some sort of boxer on the permanent verge of a breakdown, I thought that narrative was quite interesting. And for him to come back and beat Haney, I thought, well, that's an interesting narrative. I hope I'm wrong. But so I didn't say anything. But to be honest with you, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And I think the fight should be called a no contest. Look, the guy cheated. I'm sick to high heaven of PEDs. It's the thing I hate most about boxing. Yes, I know lots of people are on PEDs. Yes, I know a lot of them get away with it. They're not all on it, as people say. Well, they're all on it. No, they're not. They're not all on it, all right? Don't insult all those fighters that are not all on it. Some people are all on it, and fuck them, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think it's just a bloody disgrace, Garcia has come out apparently with some ludicrous tweet saying that he was photographed with Trump, or he was hanging out with Donald Trump, and therefore implying that there is some sort of skullduggery, it's some sort of conspiracy theory bullshit. As for being photographed with Trump, you roll around in shit, you end up smelling other stuff, and that's what's happened with Garcia. Birds of a feather and all that. But back in the real world, once you've left the land of the fairies and landed back in the real world, no, he cheated. It was just a flat-out cheat, and I'm sick of the kid, to be honest with you. I'm sick of him. By the way, I mean, as I said in previous videos, just because he performed so well against Haney, it doesn't mean that he's not mentally ill, or it doesn't mean that he's not, as they used to say, out there. It's sometimes the ring is the haven for someone who's having problems outside of it. And I always think of, Johnny Tapia is the very obvious example from the last 30 years. Someone whose entire life had been chaotic. If you know anything about Johnny Tapia, you'll know that, his mother was murdered, she was raped, and I think he saw this. We saw the body. The body was hung upside down, I think. There was all sorts of absolutely horrendous traumas for a child to go through, and then Tapia had his issues with drugs and drink, and he led that extremely chaotic lifestyle, but he performed in the ring, and he often performed brilliantly in the ring, but he died young. He died at 47. So some people do have that damage, that trauma. In the case of Garcia, I don't think he went through anything anywhere near as bad, but you can be mentally ill you can be from a very stable background and be mentally ill. It's kind of like something like anxiety. You can suffer from anxiety and have a panic attack in an empty room. You can win the lottery. If it's depression, you can win the lottery in the morning and kill yourself in the afternoon. I'm talking about clinical depression, not I've just got out the wrong side of bed, or something minor is bugging me, so I'm going to be very sort of foppish and claim that I've got mental health issues. No, mental health issues exist. There's no question about it. And they are, very, very serious. Emotional issues as well. I'd like to see a new sort of paradigm where we talk about emotional illness rather than mental illness. Because mental illness covers everything. I think whatever it is Garcia has gone through, I think it's very evident and it's there. I don't think the victory over Haney, especially if it's a victory that's tainted by him cheating and it looks 90% certain that's the case, I don't think that proves that he's not unstable and in need of help, shall we say, some sort of medication to calm him down. He even said after the fight, well, I have ADHD. That's not a mental health issue. It's a behavioural diagnosis. But anyway, I'm just thinking aloud here, really. But yeah, he cheated. Bottom line, he cheated. I'm so fucking sick to death of PEDs. I'm sick of cheats. This is a sport I grew up loving. I've followed it for almost all my life. And I'm not a young man anymore, so that's quite a long time. And I'm just sick to death of cheats, and I'm not giving them a free pass. So if you're a fighter and you knowingly cheat, fuck you, and yeah, fuck you, Ryan Garcia. They should make this a no contest. They really should. Yeah. One final thing, of course. If you remember, post Garcia's victory, Oscar de la Hoya was sort of railing against Eddie Hearn and saying there'll be no rematch. Go over to Haney. You go back to the Brit who's trying to make it in America, and off you go. There's a good boy. And being very sort of condescending and gloating and goading Hearn, and generally speaking, wallowing in the sort of basking in Garcia's victory. And in fact, only a few hours before this news broke, by the way, Dan Raphael was the source, I think. It's Mike Coppinger, but maybe it's both of them, I don't know. But the source I read was Dan Raphael's. It was from Dan Raphael. But a few hours before this news broke, Oscar was pointing out, shall we say, that the two failed drug tests of Canelo Alvarez at the press conference, and Canelo got very arsy about it, probably because he's guilty as sin. Gets up and starts, threatening to chin De La Hoya and all this. He's another cheat as far as I'm concerned, and he got away with it as well. I hope Garcia doesn't get away with it. But the thing is, it looks very bad for Oscar, doesn't it? To sort of, get stuck into someone over failed drug tests, and then a couple of hours later, you're the jewel in your crown tests positive. It's a shame. It's a shame. But anyway, do you have any opinions? If so, just leave them below. Let me know what you think. This is going to develop, and I'm making this. I've only just got up, and I've read the boxing news like I always do when I get up. But it's going to develop. There's going to be things are going to come out. They'll probably try and get Garcia off the hook like they always do, and he'll have his stupid excuses. Knowing him, they'll probably be all conspiratorial and all that bullshit. But it's just, I just think it's awful. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of failed drug tests. Anyway. Let me know what you think. Comments below, and subscribe if you're new. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Takes a second, costs you nothing, and the like button as well if you don't mind. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Let me know what you think. I'll catch you later. Bye for now.